Oklahoma has experienced a swarm of earthquakes over the last 4 or 5 years. The state is a seismically active area, has experienced 4 or 5 3.0 magnitude or greater earthquakes per year, but that number has jumped to about 40 over the last few years and then more than 200 this year. Several different groups and individuals are looking at these earthquakes, studying what's causing them and what implications that has on the state. I talked with professors at the University of Texas and at Oklahoma State University.
The question that comes up is whether injection at a particular well is causing an earthquake that happened nearby. And often you can't tell with 100% confidence about that, even though you know that sometimes injection does cause earthquakes. You can do statistics and you can prove that some of these earthquakes, in fact a lot of these earthquakes, are being caused by injection at nearby wells. But for any particular case, you can't prove 100% that the injection caused the earthquake. Most injection caused earthquakes are pretty small, magnitude 3 or even smaller than that. So if you look at places like Oklahoma and Texas, they've been injecting in thousands of wells for more than 50 years. And in a way, this is a vast laboratory. If this was really dangerous, we'd think of Oklahoma and Texas as places just rocking with huge earthquakes, and that's not true. So for the most part, there isn't a lot of risk.
At this stage, the biggest problem is that we don't have enough data to really look into the origin and evolution of these earthquakes. The general consensus in the academic community is that these earthquakes are happening from disposal well. And the reason probably is because we are injecting a large volume of fluid in a container that's probably already full. So A, we are overpressurizing, and B, which a lot of people have now started thinking, is that we are lubricating the natural existing fault planes.
The Oklahoma earthquakes also have gained the attention of researchers throughout the country, including in Colorado.
So there's no question there's a variety of earthquakes that are caused by human activity. You look at filling of dams, mining, oil and gas production. Say in the North Sea, there's well-documented earthquakes have been associated with conventional oil and gas. At the Rocky Mountain Arsenal here in Denver, in the late 60s, there was a series of earthquakes that was associated with deep well injection. So you should be able to look at an injection and be able to hopefully come up with a relatively clear determination that an earthquake is associated with it.
Earthquakes in Oklahoma are not all that rare. Historically, the largest earthquake in Oklahoma historically occurred in 1952, and that was very, very close to El Reno. And it was a magnitude 5.5, and it had an intensity at the epicenter of 7, which is strong enough to knock down chimneys and crack walls.
The researchers have discovered numerous possible causes for these earthquakes. One researcher at Continental Resources here in Oklahoma City has focused more on looking at the history of earthquakes in Oklahoma.
Over the last year, I've dug into USGS and OGS data, Oklahoma Geological Survey data, and really have went into it with an intent of just trying to figure out, for my personal interest, what was going on. And what I've concluded is the data suggests that what we have is a natural swarm of earthquakes that's moving through the state. And much like a similar swarm that occurred here in the 50s, where we had an El Reno quake that was a 5.5 event, and another associated smaller quakes. This doesn't seem to be related to industry, oil and gas industry activity to me. It seems to be inversely related. The locations of the injector wells that are talked about are actually up to 30 miles away from the quakes. And recently, in the last 60 days, if you examine the data, the earthquakes have shifted to the north and out of the original area that was from right here in Oklahoma City over to Craig. And it's hard to do when your wells are staying the same. It's an active time in the world, And it appears that we're seeing some release of pressure on known faults that happen to be oriented in a slightly east of north orientation. And that appears to be releasing from the south to the north, and the quakes now are from Guthrie up to the north and up in Grant County, Medford, and some also up in Kansas.